The tragic shooting of a wild elephant causes outrage.
The full details to follow. A very good evening, I'm Shane Silva.
And I'm Jitendra Gunasena. Let's start off with a look at the headlines.
Mithuramulla garbage dump tragedy death toll rises to 30. Dumping of garbage on UDA lands to be prohibited from the 1st of May. A generator at the News1st coal power plant fails once again. GMOA charges that a permit has been issued for a new cigarette manufacturing factory.
President Maithripala Sirisena paid homage to the Nagadeepa Rajamahavihariya today.
The President called on the chief incumbent of the Nagadeepa Rajamahavihariya, Venerable Navadagala Padumikiti Tesudhero, this morning and held a cordial discussion with the Venerable Thero. Upon receiving blessings from the Mahasangha, President Sirisena visited the museum at the Nagadeepa Rajamahavihariya. Thereafter, President Maithripala Sirisena paid homage to the Sri Nagapusan Amman Kovil.
The Prime Ministers of Sri Lanka and Vietnam have agreed to reach the target of $1 billion of trade in the coming years.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe was accorded a warm welcome at the President's house in Hanoi, where he called on the Prime Minister of Vietnam, Nguyen Xuan Phuc. His host said this visit marks a new chapter in the friendly relations between Sri Lanka and Vietnam. He added they appreciated the friendliness extended by Sri Lanka for Vietnam and its people at all times. Emphasizing that Sri Lanka is a powerful state in a strategic location in the Indian Ocean, he also stated that they have entered into an agreement to strengthen the relations in a number of sectors. These include petroleum, oil and gas, infrastructure, information technology, garments, agriculture and fisheries, renewable energy, aviation services, education and tourism. Prime Minister Wickremesinghe pointed out that both countries share historical relations and should work closely for the betterment of the future generations. He said both Sri Lanka and Vietnam have faced deadly wars and are now on the path to becoming middle-income countries. He stated that it is the intention of the government to learn lessons from Vietnam and develop Sri Lanka. Prime Minister Wickremesinghe invited his Vietnamese counterpart to visit Sri Lanka with the intention of strengthening the relations between the two countries further. Two memorandums of understanding were also signed between the two countries. The 2017-2019 Action Plan on Agricultural Development Cooperation was signed by the Vietnamese Minister of Agriculture, while the Agreement on Educational Cooperation was signed by the Vietnamese Minister of Education. Sri Lankan Ambassador to Vietnam, Hasanthi Dissanayake, signed the agreement on behalf of Sri Lanka. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe paid floral tributes to the Vietnam War Memorial.
In other local news, at a media briefing convened today, the Government Medical Officers Association levelled an accusation at the government.
The Government Medical Officers Association has come to know that a multinational tobacco manufacturer has been registered in Sri Lanka, and there's a major accusation that the Health Ministry of the government is working to promote cigarettes. On one hand, they are raising taxes and discouraging it, while on the other hand, they are encouraging other companies. Is the Health Ministry trying to cast aside one company in favour of another?
In line with the recommendations of the FCTC, we have also reviewed the tobacco taxation policies, and just a month ago we have been able to increase tobacco taxes by nearly 10% again. My Minister of Health, Dr. Rajitha, is proposing to introduce plain packaging as another important measure in the near future, and here we thank the FCTs for the excellent technical support.
In what appears to be a commonplace occurrence rather than news, Generator 1 at the News1st power station has broken down once again.
The generator was powered down at around 10:10 this morning due to a vapor leak from the boiler. Media spokesperson for the Ministry of Power and Renewable Energy, Sulakshana Jayawardena, said that in order to maintain balance on the grid, the electricity supply from Ratnapura, Matugama, Koskama and the Panaduru substations was cut for 15 minutes. Incidentally, Generator 3 at Norochole is also currently inoperational due to maintenance work. The only functioning generator at present is the 300 megawatt Generator 2.
There are thermal power stations in Kalanithissa and Sapagaskanda which are under the Ceylon Electricity Board. There is also the ES Kalanithissa power station which generates 163 megawatts, and there is the Ambalipitia power station which generates close to 100 megawatts. These power plants are currently supplying energy. We will have to wait for 3 days until the temperature reduces. Only then can we assess the extent of the leak and see how long it will take for repairs. Maybe it can be repaired in an hour, but it will take 3 days for the temperature to reduce, so we can say for sure.
In headline-making news, the death toll from the collapse of the News1st garbage dump has risen to 30. According to the police, 11 people are still unaccounted for.
These images show the extent of the damage wrought by the collapse of the garbage dump mere hours after the dawn of the Sinhala and Tamil New Year. 4 days after the catastrophe, more than 1,000 rescuers are still clearing and sifting through the debris. Today, a section of a road was unearthed. According to current estimates, 145 homes were destroyed in the collapse. 625 people from 180 families are displaced. People who were waiting for the Colombo Municipal Council to complete its valuation were buried. Blackboards and numbers were put up noting that these homes were at risk. But if that was the case, then the people should have been evacuated. There was some chemical that had been dumped underneath, and this was what caused the collapse. Responding to inquiries from Newsfirst, Colombo Municipal Commissioner B.K. Anura said that the CMC uses a chemical to suppress the stench of the waste. He added that this chemical had been used in News1st about 2 months ago. The National Building Research Organisation, meanwhile, has advised the evacuation of 130 homes surrounding the garbage dump. Final rites were observed today for 11 people killed in the tragedy.
The bodies have been wrapped in polythene and the coffins have been sealed. The bodies have not been embalmed. This is unjust. They sealed the body and brought it here. It was wrapped in polythene and they had taped around it. Forgive me, but look at this body. This is a nasty thing that they have done. A coffin only cost 1,500 rupees.
9 people were laid to rest at the Kolonava Public Cemetery. Among them were the wife, granddaughter and son-in-law of N. Kirthiratna, the convener of the People's Movement against the Kolonava garbage dump. Final rites were also observed in Maligawatta today for 3 people, including Ahmed Sajik, a grade 10 student at President's College, Rajagiriya, whose body was discovered this morning. 2 of those buried were from the same family. Minister of Law and Order Sagla Ratnayaka visited the scene of the disaster once again today, accompanied by the Army Commander and Inspector General of Police to take stock of the situation.
We are still searching. The Gram Nildari says 6 people are still missing. This may be about 90% correct. It could be a maximum of 10. So we will continue to search for the bodies, be it 6 or 10. If there are areas or homes that are still at risk, we will relocate the people there. There's a building owned by the Paddy Marketing Board and they will be taken there. We are expecting a technical team from Japan to arrive this week. They will share their technical expertise on the continuing risk and on removing this garbage dump. People are emotional at this time and we must be sensitive.
Meanwhile, Western Provincial Councillor Susil Kindal-Pittiya submitted a letter from a group of residents of Ekasiya Ekawatta in Meethotamulla who have agreed to move from their homes to the district secretary.
What happened here? This was covered up for the benefit of politics, business and mafia. The rulers had no interest in resolving this. If a solution was provided for this back then, this tragedy would have not struck. So never will we allow them to bring garbage to Kolonava again. The people of this area will not allow it. There is no forgiveness for this. The politicians responsible must step down from their positions if they have anything called shame.
Issuing a statement this evening, the Ministry of Finance said compensation would be paid to the victims of the tragedy. The statement reads that a sum of 100,000 rupees would be paid for each death and a maximum of 2.5 million rupees would be paid for damage to property. Finance Minister Ravi Karunanayake says that compensation has been paid for natural disasters across the island since 2016 through a disaster insurance scheme. The Ministry of Megapolis and Western Development issued a statement today banning the dumping of garbage in lands owned by the Urban Development Authority. The ministry says that if a local council or other public institution requires land to dump waste, then such institutions should use the provisions allocated to cover the cost. The statement also reads that the Colombo Municipal Council had been advised to halt dumping waste in Meethotamulla and that they had been advised of alternate locations. Meanwhile, mounds of waste could be seen in Colombo today.
When was it decided to dump garbage in Meethotamulla? It was Gotabaya Rajapaksa that made the decision in 2008. There was garbage before that, but it was garbage collected by the Kolonava Urban Council, not the mountain of waste dumped by the Colombo Municipal Council. We saw how they responded when the people protested. They used Anura Seranayake to chase them down and beat them. This was Gotabaya Rajapaksa's plan. Now they're trying to turn this catastrophe into a blessing for themselves.
Waste
has turned into a business. I can fearlessly say that garbage has become a business for the municipal council. Transporting a waste and selling the waste is a business. So the municipal council prefers it when there is more waste. If they can deny this and prove it, I will accept it. I will simply not accept that this is the way. This garbage dump was a major mine for politicians. The Colombo Municipal Council granted the 600 million rupee tender for 800 million rupees and the politicians divided up more than 200 million rupees among themselves. The chairman, deputy chairman and even the opposition members of the Kolonava Urban Council used their own lorries to transport and dump waste here and create an income source for themselves. This government and every government preceding it is accountable for the Meethotamulla garbage dump. A large number of people are suffering from this tragedy because of the neglect of all the authorities. Through our research, we determined that the Meethotamulla garbage dump was too high and that the soil layer beneath it was not strong. So we took this message to the relevant authorities and worked to raise awareness among the people. By then we knew that this could collapse or that a landslide could occur at any moment. One such land has been chosen and the garbage is piled onto such an extent, it is very difficult to use any engineering technology and provide an instant solution.
Speaking to News First today, Speaker Karu Jayasuriya shared these views on garbage disposal.
In
1998, when I was contesting as the chief ministerial candidate, we had a plan to shift the disposal of garbage to Mipe and create a sanitary landfill with assistance from the Asian Development Bank. This is the best method present back then. They had even promised to maintain this facility for a period of 5 years. However, around that time, the Western Provincial Council elections were held and all the chief ministerial candidates, except for myself, promised not to shift this garbage dump to Mipe. There was opposition from these forces. We are saddened on some occasions because politicians often take decisions based on their narrow political ideologies.
Up next is Action TV.
The garbage that accumulated within the limits of the Mathura municipality during the recently concluded Sinhala and Tamil New Year period was dumped at a garbage collection site in Kamburugamua. Area residents opposed this move in a backdrop where the entire country learned about the dangers of piling garbage. The commissioner of the municipality had repeatedly raised the issues surrounding this garbage dump with numerous responsible parties, but to no avail. As a result, the dumping of garbage at this location continues unabated, with the Mathura Municipal Council having no alternative to the issue. This plot of land, which spans over 5 acres, was taken over by the Mathura Divisional Secretariat from the Land Reclamation Authority in 2015 for the Dayata Kirula exhibition. By this time, however, the Mathura Municipal Council had already commenced dumping garbage at this location and was in the process of recycling this garbage. Going beyond its scope, the Central Environment Authority made arrangements along with the University of Moratuwa to dispose of this garbage through an initiative which also involved a private entity. The aim of the initiative was to create biogas. In order to implement this project, which was valued at over 250 million rupees, this private entity was provided with the land under reference together with the garbage that was accumulating on it. One of the stakeholders of this project was the Mathura Municipal Council, whose responsibility was to transport the garbage to the location. It is reported that of the 250 million rupees, 60 million rupees was provided under questionable circumstances to the private entity. It has been 3 years since the funds were provided. To this day, the only initiative taken by this private entity was the setting up of a shed on this land. The biogas facility that was to be initiated under this project is yet to commence. The fertilizer facility that was in operation has come to a standstill. While the garbage at this location piles up, the adjoining river also has been pulled into being part of the garbage dump. Very soon, the Mathura General Hospital, which is also located close by, could be severely affected by this garbage dump. Shouldn't the Central Environmental Authority that wasted 60 million rupees of public funds under the guise of a biogas project be held accountable for the environmental destruction taking place? Secretary to the Ministry of Environment and Mahavali Development, this is over to you.
As mentioned at the start of this evening's bulletin, shots were fired at a wild elephant during rescue efforts to help it out of an agrarian well in Omante, Vaunia.
2 elephant calves along with 2 full-grown elephants had fallen into this agrarian well. Rescue operations were launched together with the area residents and police, and the 2 elephant calves were rescued at around 9:30 last evening. Our Newsfirst correspondent reported that rescue operations continued until this morning with the intervention of the Vaunia wildlife officials. However, 1 elephant was shot at while efforts were underway to rescue the elephants. The elephant that was shot at died at the same location. This elephant was unable to return to the forest because the backhoe was blocking its path. Instead of removing the vehicle from its path, the wildlife officials shot this elephant. An obstructed path caused the death of this majestic beast.
We have informed the chief prelates. I know for certain that the elephants who paraded the streets during the Katragama Perahara are now being kept in Pinnavala as though they are in a prison. There is no purpose in doing so. Our request is for these animals to be released. We call on the chief prelates to inquire about the decision that needs to be taken. Either the elephants should be part of the Katragama Perahara or whether the government would take measures to hand over the elephants to us. Both chief prelates agreed that this matter should be handled by those who have the capabilities.
Moving on to more local news, a book authored by Herman Gunaratna was launched yesterday.
The launch of the book titled God's Secret Agent, A Battle Against Dark Forces, was attended by a number of intellectuals.
And I have often wondered, after my experiences with the Holy Spirit, why this bountifully blessed land is tumbling from one crisis to another. It is my respectful belief that it is because at all layers of society that we are engaging in sorcery, for the lack of any other word. Now, I think if we can send a message that this land can only develop to its full potential the day we stop paying obeisance to evil forces. So that is the message that I would eventually like to leave with this book.
Well, that's all the news we have for you for tonight. For the News First team, I'm Jitendra Kunasena.
And I'm Shayan Silva. Take care and good night.